Hi, everyone. So my name is Livier Martinez, and I'm a Washoe County School District counselor. I'm currently at North Valleys High School, and thank you for coming to this session. So it's titled Planning on Going to College, Tips for Middle School Parents on How to Get There. So not only will we be covering what you as parents can do of middle schoolers or high schoolers, but also tips for students themselves. So the outline of today's presentation is a little bit about, tiny little bit about my background, some true false questions, and tips for students and parents, choosing the right classes in middle school and high school, beginning to think about your strengths and thinking about a career for students. And then, because this presentation is about getting to college, so I'll talk a little bit about finding money and ways to help pay for college. So just so you know a little bit about me, your presenter, I'm first generation, low income. I'm a product of my parents immigrating to the United States. They are both from Mexico and I identify as Mexican. I'm a product of the Dean's Future Scholars Program. So it's an academic outreach program that's housed in the College of Education at the University of Nevada, Reno. And I'm also a product of the Washoe County School District. So I grew up in the area. I was born and raised in Reno, and I went to local schools. I graduated from Worcester High School. After I graduated high school, I studied criminal justice for my bachelor's degree. And then I received my first master's degree in educational leadership. And then my second master's degree is in school counseling. After I graduated with school counseling, I worked at Sparks Middle School for 1 year, and I'm starting my second year as a counselor at North Valleys High School. And I absolutely love it. I love working with older students and helping them on figuring out their path for after high school. And so that's just something for you to know. I do have, I have had jobs in higher education and the Washoe County School District, so in the K-12 world. And so that's just the lens through which I operate. And so just want you to know that that's my background. So important to note, I just want you to know that when I say college, and we'll be saying that a lot throughout the presentation, when I say college, I mean public and private four-year colleges and universities. So it's not just exclusive to college. I also am talking about community colleges or junior colleges and career schools, career and technical schools, vocational schools. So all of that counts as college. So just to start off, and you guys are, able to write in the little chat box in the little chat feature. Um, I'll start off with some true and false questions, or if you don't feel comfortable answering, that's also fine. So just in your head, true or false, research suggests starting conversations about college as early as kindergarten. Is that true or false? Think. Okay, so the answer is true. So, but don't worry, it's not too late. There are programs that do target kindergarteners, elementary school students to get the ball rolling and thinking about what to do after high school graduation. So, middle school is also a perfect time for families and students to take control of their college preparation. So, next up, true or false, only students with good grades go to college. You can type in the chat box. Okay, thanks for your answers. So most of you said false, all of you I think said false. So good grades and high test scores can definitely help when applying to college, but college admission staff also take into account other things such as interests, hobbies, community-based extracurricular activities. So they don't just look at, is this student a straight A student? They also want to see that your student is involved in other things and that they're able to, you know, use their time wisely and effectively. They have time management skills. And so that's also important. So next question, true or false, college will be the same as middle school or high school? Okay, thank you for your answers. So, yeah, everyone pretty much said false. So, college is much different than middle school or high school. So, the way that it's different is students in college will make their own schedule. So, they'll be able to schedule their own classes. No longer will someone be scheduling it for them. They get to choose what they want to major in, what they want to focus on. They might live away from home. That might be an option for students where they leave and they move away from home, away from family, away from parents, move out of state or into an apartment or whatever the case may be, make new friends. So that'll definitely be something different compared to middle school and high school. So true or false, I need to get a job as soon as I graduate from high school. Is that true or false for students? Okay. So I said there could be some truth to that, also false. So, sure, students can get a job with decent pay after high school graduation, right? Some students choose to jump right into the workforce. However, at the same time, your student can invest in their education right after high school to end up with a great career that'll end up paying them better and end up paying off in the long run. So, just a follow up question to that. So, how much more does a person with a college education earn over entire lifetime compared to someone that did not continue their education? So, let's just say someone who dropped out of high school, how much more over a lifetime would this person make over someone who didn't? Just a dollar amount, if you guys want to type it in. Okay, so a couple of people said $1 million, $500,000. So in this study that they did, the answer is actually $4 million. So someone who chose to continue their education after high school, after college, earned an average of $4 million over their lifetime. So one big push that our administrators at North Valley's high school try to put in perspective is that that piece of paper, that diploma that you're working so hard for, can end up being worth $4 million over the course of a lifetime. So it's something to think about. True or false? I can't go to college because I don't know what I want to do with my life. So if your student doesn't know, is undecided, is that true or false? Yep. So thank you for answering. So that's false. So most students decide on what they want to do either during college or after college. So there are very few students that will from day one stick to their major from day one. So it's very common for students to change their minds and change their majors all throughout their college career. So it's it's something that I hear very often with my high school students where they say I'm undecided, I'm still doing my research, and I say that you know what, that's completely fine because you still have time. So um so that's the answer to that one. So tips as a middle school student. So kind of getting in the mind frame of a middle school student. So it's never too early to start thinking about college. Again, I mentioned there are some studies that say talking about it in kindergarten is important. Middle school is just as, you know, just as fine. Elementary, high school. To have your student develop good study habits. So read, reading books, reading articles online, to develop their verbal, writing, and critical thinking skills is really important. Study at the same time, at the same place. So the reason why I bring this up is have your student build this habit of every day from, let's say, I don't know, like 4 to 5 o'clock or after dinner, that's my time that I set aside to study, whether it's in the, you know, the kitchen or in my room, in my parents' room, in my siblings' room. So having that set schedule so that your student is able to develop that habit in middle school and then transfer that on to high school. Next, develop interest in extracurricular slash community based activities. So I bring up marching band or band um, as an example, clubs, sports, and outside organizations. So the reason why I bring up band in middle schools, so students can actually get scholarships and can get offers from different colleges to go to their school for playing an instrument or for having that talent. And so sometimes in high school, what the band teacher wants to see is, has this middle school student played an instrument in middle school? Are they dedicated to it? Have they practiced? Clubs, I know that not all middle schools offer clubs, but definitely getting involved in some of those would be helpful. Sports, starting that in middle school, or if they started even younger, that's even better. Outside organizations, let's say your student volunteers at your local church or volunteers in the community by cleaning up parks or volunteering at, like, just volunteering at different agencies in the community. So that's something that your middle school student can start doing now, um, because that will make them a better candidate for college. And I'll talk more about that. So as an eighth grader, consider taking advanced or honors courses if they are available and do well in them. So not only sign up for them, but also do well, get A's and B's in those classes. Um, Honors English, if that's offered as an eighth grader, definitely challenging yourself. If you can take algebra, so doing really well in seventh grade math, that way you can start on algebra, because algebra is a requirement for high school graduation. So getting that out of the way early is a good idea. Get to know your counselor and talk to other adults in the building about your goals, whether it's your dean, your administrator, your coaches, different types of mentors. So all of these people, all of these adults in your world, in their world, have their future in mind and have their best interest in mind. So telling other people their goals will help, you know, let them know what their goals are. So talk to your family members about plans for after middle school. Do well on standardized tests, and like I said before, doing these things will determine your college options later. You'll be opening up your options if you follow these tips. So, as far as making the transition from middle school into high school, so high school is the training ground for college and for work. And I have some students where they might be failing a class or two. And so I try to put things in perspective where, let's just say school was your job and the grades was were your compensation. And if you're failing, would you be getting paid at this point? And the answer is no. So a failing grade would mean that you're not working for getting compensated for getting good grades. And so, a really good indicator for if a child will be successful for college and work all starts in how they're doing in middle school, high school. So in high school, it's a larger environment, a lot more students, it's a lot larger. Credits matter in high school, meaning for every class that a student doesn't pass, or if they fail it, they will end up having to make it up at some point. They will have to probably take summer school or have to recover it through an online recovery credit program. And so, different from middle school, where in middle school, let's just say you might not pass your art class, you might not pass your language class or your English class, and you still get passed forward. In high school, you might move up grades, but credit wise, you might still be like a freshman, even though it might be your second or third year in high school. So credits definitely do matter in high school. Attendance can be a barrier to getting a diploma. So in Washoe County, if you miss a certain percentage of school, you are at risk for not earning your credits. So let's just say a student has a 90% in their class, but they don't show up. Yes, they turned in work and it helped them get to an A or a B. But if this student did not show up and was not in their seat physically, attending, then they risk not earning that credit, and that's very unfortunate because like I said, attendance can be a barrier to getting your high school diploma. In high school, consider taking honors and advanced placement courses. So if you didn't get a chance to do that in middle school, signing up with your counselor, taking honors and advanced placement courses, AP courses. So with AP courses, it requires the student, and you're pretty much committing to take an exam in the spring. You are responsible for paying for this exam, and there is financial aid available if you are free and reduced lunch. But if you're not, you are responsible for paying for the test. So the benefit to taking an advanced placement course is students have an opportunity to earn college credit, and it gives you a GPA boost at the end of the semester. So just to give you an example, I have a student this year who has passed multiple advanced placement courses, and they want to go to school to UNR. So once they get to UNR, they will already have about a year worth of school under their belt because they passed all of these AP courses. So that's a huge benefit, right? I'll talk about some other ways to earn college credit at the same time. And then next up is the ACT, SAT. These are college entrance exams, and colleges use these test scores to determine how ready your student is for college level courses. Dual credit options. So in our area specifically, Truckee Meadows Community College, TMCC, has a Jumpstart dual credit program where students can take classes at a discounted price, and they can double dip and earn high school credit and college credit. So that's a really great opportunity because you get a GPA boost as well, just like AP courses. You can already have college credits on your transcript. And so it's just another great way to earn that. Other community colleges in our state, such as WNC, Western Nevada College in Carson City, they also have a Jumpstart dual credit program. So it's just a matter of doing research and seeing who offers that. So just a little bit more information about the ACT, SAT. Like I said, these are college entrance exams. Most colleges accept both. It's recommended that you take practice tests for both. So there are, preparation tests available to help you with the actual test. So the SAT, it's comprised of 4 parts. So there's a reading section, writing, language, math, and then there's an optional essay. The length of the test is 3 hours and 50 minutes. The SAT no longer penalizes you for wrong answers. It used to do that, it used to count against you. It no longer does that. The ACT is comprised of 5 parts: English, math, reading, science, and then an optional essay that you write. The length of the test is about 3 hours and 30 minutes, and then there's no penalty for wrong answers. Washoe County School Districts requires students to take the ACT. It's a requirement for graduation. It's free during their junior year of the spring semester. So luckily, your student, once they reach their junior year, they will take this test, and they can see how they score, and they can decide if, their junior year, the following year, excuse me, their senior year, if they want to retake that test for better scores, for, a higher chance to getting into a school. They can do that. They would just be responsible for paying. So transitioning more about transitioning to high school. So there's also TMCC High School. That's an option. So what I really like about TMCC High School is not only can you earn your high school diploma while attending this school, you can also get an associate's degree. So just to give you an example, I knew someone who graduated from TMCC High School. They got their associate's degree at the same time as their high school diploma, and they were 17, 18 years old, right? And so they transferred that associate's degree to UNR. 2 years later, they're 19, 20 years old. They already have a bachelor's degree. They already entered the workforce, and they've been working, in their profession for the last few years. And so they pretty much saved 2 years, because they didn't have to go to get a bachelor's degree for 4 years. They only needed 2 years. So they were pretty much ahead of everybody else. They admit sophomores and above. So they admit sophomores, juniors, and seniors. They don't admit freshmen because they want to know, they want freshmen to be able to get a hang of what the high school experience is like, and so they are able to apply their sophomore year. So another thing I would suggest is applying to Upward Bound. It's a program that's housed at the University of Nevada, Reno, and they provide a mentor to meet with students throughout high school. They check in on their grades, their academics, their personal needs, social needs, yeah, social emotional needs. They offer summer classes to help students get ahead, like math courses and science courses, I believe. So they serve as a connection to TMCC, UNR, and other colleges if they would like. They have inside knowledge, they offer guidance. You can also inquire about the DFS program with, talking to your counselor. There is a waitlist for the program. This program, as I mentioned, I was a product of the Dean's Future Scholars program, and they recruit their students in sixth grade, but it's also possible to get admitted later on, such as as a middle schooler or a high schooler. So you need a counselor recommendation, but that's also another way to help connect your student to a higher education. So go to career information events or field trips. Ask employers what kind of education they expect their employees to have. So I know as eighth graders, there's a field trip that's called the Career Expo, and also like smaller career field trips for eighth graders where they have booths set up with different employers. And this year and from here on out, maybe due to the pandemic, they'll probably be doing a virtual version. So definitely attending those, having your students attend those. I know that Panasonic and Tesla, as we know, they are moving into the state of Nevada, and they actually can offer, they've been known to have presentations at high schools, and they offer students jobs right on the spot, and they can actually help pay for your college degree while you're working there. So it's a very good deal because they are showing you that they want you for their job and that they would pay for your education. So it's just a matter of getting the info, signing up for these things, and keeping an ear out for those. Explore opportunities to volunteer in your school or community. So joining leadership, doing community service outside of the school. If your student has older brothers or sisters, cousins, aunts or uncles, family members, friends, once, if they're going to college fair, financial aid nights, or other high school events, have your student go with them so that they can become familiar with these events. And that way, when it's their turn, it's not their first time doing it. So tips for parents. So save for your college. So save for your child's college education. The Federal Student Aid Office, which is an office under the United States Department of Education, they recommend saving early for your child's college education, whether it's, as little as you can contribute. If you contribute a lot, just having that build over the years so that they have something to, fall back on if needed. Talk to your child about their interests and help match those interests with the college major and career. So just keeping an eye out, keeping an ear out for what is your child good at? What is your son or daughter good at? Do they enjoy helping people? Do they enjoy technology? Do they enjoy computers? Do they, just analyzing what it is that they're most effective at doing, and then possibly suggesting, well, you could be really good at this, you could be really good at that. Helping your child develop good study habits, such as finishing all work before going on social media or playing computer games, which I know, especially this year, this academic school year, this semester, is really challenging because a lot of students are at home doing full-time distance learning, and it might be difficult to draw that line on, well, you need to finish your schoolwork first before you reward yourself. So even breaking it down into increments and saying, well, this can be your reward once you show that you can work, right? but I know it's also especially challenging this semester. So staying in contact with your child's teachers and counselors so they can let you know about any changes in your child's behavior or schoolwork. So teachers are working with your students firsthand, and they see them on the day-to-day basis. So communicating with them, emailing them, setting up a parent teacher conference is also a wonderful idea. And continue to stay involved when your child reaches high school. What I've noticed sometimes is some parents do kind of, they don't fall off the radar, but once their student starts their junior senior year, they kind of are like, well, you're doing your own thing, I'm going to back off a little bit. But just staying engaged all throughout high school so that your child sees that you're still involved, you still care, you're still available. So going to all those open house events, going to parent teacher conferences, or they're not really done in high school, but you can always request to have one with your school counselor and your teachers. So that's something that's also really helpful. Let your child's counselor know that they are college bound if they plan on studying a vocation, technical school, a trade school, university, community college. So communicate that to your teacher, to your student's counselor. That way they are able to meet with them. They're able to customize their meetings based on what they want to do after high school. Keep an eye on your child's grades and help them find tutoring assistance if necessary. For North Valley's high school, we offer Zoom tutoring this semester. It's no longer in-person Zoom, or no longer in-person tutoring. So definitely following up with your child's school and seeing what local options are available for tutoring. And I know there are community agencies here in the Reno Sparks area that do offer tutoring assistance, but you will have to pay for it. So tips for parents, there's a few links right here on this slide where, and at the beginning, at the beginning, it's mentioned that this PowerPoint will be shared with you all. So that way you're able to visit these three types of links. And that way you can explore and research on your own. So helping your child with homework offers suggestions on how to empower your child to successfully complete assignments. Helping your child through early adolescence addresses issues that parents of 10 to 14-year-olds generally find most challenging. And then browse Parent Power for ideas to help you support your child as they transition into high school. So this is the source for that. So just to transition into how to pay for college and the different types of financial aid. So you know, elementary, middle school, high school, it's all free. We don't necessarily have to pay for their education. I mean, I know there are fees and other things to pay for, but you don't have to pay for their books or their classes, whereas in college you do. You do have to pay for those things. So filling out the free application for federal student aid, so it's called the FAFSA for short, and you'll be hearing a lot more about this as your child starts getting into their junior, senior year. So apply even if you believe your family may not qualify for need-based aid. So sometimes I do have families that are hesitant to apply for the FAFSA because they think they make too much money, but it's just more safe to apply for the FAFSA as opposed to not, because that way if you don't, you'll miss out on potential scholarships or loans that your child may qualify for. So you have to apply in order to know what you qualify for. So there are different types of financial aid. So they call it gift aid and self-help. So scholarships and grants are the best kind of financial aid your student can ever get. It's free money and never has to be paid back. And I'll give you some examples on different types of scholarships. Loans and work study are considered self-help. So loans, I I think sometimes we're taught that all loans are bad, we need to stay away from them, but not all of them are bad. There are different types of loans where students can either choose to pay them after they graduate from college, so they don't have to worry about it until after. And then there are loans that you do have to start paying back the minute that you take the money out. And then work study is also a type of financial aid where students have an opportunity to work on campus. And the benefit and the advantage of that is that they're on campus. They don't have to travel to and from certain locations. They're on campus. They can study there. And supervisors are normally more understanding of students. They know that they're a student first, and they know that, if you have a paper due, if you have an essay due, if you have to study for a test, they'll prioritize that over your shift, where maybe an off-campus job might not be so understanding. So students need a social security number to fill out the FAFSA. If they don't have one, there are other types of aid that colleges and universities offer. So just be sure to communicate that to your child's counselor so that they're able to connect them with other resources if they don't have a social security number. So that also shouldn't be a barrier to attending college if they don't have a social security number. So as I mentioned before, opening up that savings account, because you have to pay for books in college, you have to pay for, there might be some fees that you have to pay for. So just keeping that in mind. How do I find out about other scholarship opportunities? So staying vigilant for potential scams. There are websites and services that offer to find scholarships for you, but it might be part of a scam. So this federal student aid webpage helps you know and learn about the in and outs of, is this website legitimate? Is what they're asking for real? So that's one resource that again will be shared with you. The Department of Labor's free scholarship search webpage. So I visited that webpage today, and you can filter it by your grade level, high school, middle school, when they're due, what the dollar amount is, what it requires. So like I mentioned, I would talk more specifically about local scholarships. So the Millennium Scholarship and TMCC Nevada Promise Scholarship. So first of all, so the Millennium Scholarship is a $10,000 scholarship where all your student would have to do is get a 3.25 GPA in high school, and they would be offered this money. The $10,000 gets distributed all throughout the 4 years they are in college, or 5 years that they are in college. And so it's one of the easier scholarships that I've seen, where all they need to do is get that GPA and they get this offered to them. They don't have to write a personal essay, a personal statement. They don't have to get letters of recommendation for anyone. All they have to do is get that 3.25. So that's an incentive. This scholarship is an incentive to stay within the state of Nevada. It can follow them anywhere in the state of Nevada, whether it's TMCC, UNR, UNLV, University of Las Vegas, Southern Nevada College, Western Nevada College, Sierra Nevada College. So if your student wanted to travel outside of the state of Nevada, unfortunately, it wouldn't follow them. If they wanted to go to California or something, unfortunately, the Millennium Scholarship wouldn't follow them, but it's a way for them to stay in the state. The TMCC Nevada Promise Scholarship is actually also a great scholarship as well. So to give you an example, I have seniors right now that have applied for this scholarship, and all that's, one of the major requirements that's asked of them is to complete 8 hours of community service and meet with a mentor. So they're not asking for 100 hours of community service or 50 hours. They're just asking for 8, and just keeping up with dates and deadlines. They meet with this mentor that keeps them connected to TMCC. And so that's just another way to help pay for your whole associate's degree. So students can get their core classes out of the way at TMCC and then transfer to UNR if that's something that they want to do. And then, something else that can also work for paying for college is serving in the military, whichever branch, if your student is interested in serving in the military. The GI Bill is something that helps pay for their entire tuition or part of it. And so that's another way to help pay for college. So just to recap, so what do colleges seek from high school applicants? As I mentioned, a good high school curriculum and performance. So performing well, getting a high grade point average, high GPA, taking challenging college prep courses such as AP classes or dual credit, strong scores on standardized tests. So taking good having good scores on the ACT, SAT, college application essays. Not all colleges require a college application essay, so it's just a matter of, again, doing research and seeing what they want to see. Being involved in extracurricular activities and involvement, leadership positions in a few organizations, whether it's a club or are you a captain of a sports team, active involvement in community service. So again, colleges want to see that your student is well-rounded and has good time management skills and is able to show that they can juggle multiple things at once, which I know sounds pretty hard. So, but at the same time, these are skills that your student can start kind of dabbling into early as a middle schooler and high school. That way, it's not the end of the world in college. So demonstrating enthusiasm in attending the university, so showing that you want to be there and you're not just there because you have to apply or everyone else is doing it. So showing that you do want to be there. And then some schools do ask for letters of recommendation. So again, the earlier you can start getting to know a mentor or a coach, your counselor in middle school, and you're demonstrating you're a hard worker, and then keeping that relationship all throughout your high school career, or starting, having a relationship with your coaches in high school, they can write letters of recommendation for you, for your student, and that'll give them a higher chance of getting into the school of their choice. If the more people that they know, the better. It's kind of like networking. So think outside of the box in terms of how you present yourself. Just think of your student, your son or daughter, as what is your son or daughter doing now to make themselves stand out against every other middle schooler in Washoe County, every other high schooler in Washoe County. I think of it as a competition, and I kind of look, you know, left and right. Well, what skills do I have? How have I prepared myself over someone that might be my same age or something like that? So, what can your student do now in middle school? I bring up grit, tenacity, and perseverance because that's also part of the equation. Can your student pick themselves up after they've fallen? Can they dust themselves off after they faced something, a difficult situation? So I personally would rather see someone, I think a better candidate would be someone who has shown that, let's say they failed a couple of classes and they didn't do so well their freshman year, let's just say, but their sophomore, junior, senior year, they cleaned their act up and they retook those classes, they got better grades, they took more challenging classes. That to me says a lot more than someone who, let's say, didn't struggle and got straight A's, never really got faced with any challenges. Because the reason why I bring that example up is, let's just say a student who does have straight A's, they never really had to face any difficulties. What's going to happen to them when they're presented with a challenge or an issue? They're not really going to know how to handle it. It's going to be a lot difficult for them, as opposed to someone who went through it and says, well, I already went through something challenging. I already know how to overcome this. So being determined, having grit, having tenacity, being able to persevere over difficult situations is something that is a quality that is a good quality. So building blocks, so habits and skills, like I mentioned, in middle school, your child can be doing, certain things. In high school, they can be doing certain things. That way, these habits and skills, study habits, time management skills, they become second nature for your student. That way, it's not a surprise when they get to college and they say, oh, well, I never got used to studying. I never got used to um, having a planner or writing down a schedule. That way, once they get there, they say, oh, I've been doing this for years. I got this. So, discussion for you all. Um, so, I have these 5 questions. What scholarships are available in my state or school district? How can my grades affect my financial aid opportunities? Why should I fill out a FAFSA form when I'm a high school senior? What else can I do to learn about financial aid opportunities? How can I discuss paying for college with my family or a college support team? So You can type in the chat box what you think your answers are, or if you're taking notes on your own, just thinking of what the answers would be. And then after this, we'll go over some of the answers to these questions, and then I'll open it up to questions from everybody. So for the first question, so what scholarships are available in my state or school district? So answers will vary depending on state. Um, but more specifically here in Washoe County, so we have the Millennium Scholarship, $10,000 scholarship that's available within the state, and then the TMCC Promise Scholarship. That's also an opportunity for students. Secondly, how can my grades affect my financial aid opportunities? So your grades are important, particularly if you plan to receive scholarships. High school students who receive scholarships from the community or colleges generally have earned good grades. Scholarship providers feel more comfortable helping these students pay for college because they have demonstrated they take school seriously. So that's an incentive for getting good grades in high school. So third, why should I fill out a FAFSA form when I'm a high school senior? So you should fill out the FAFSA form during senior year to find out whether you qualify to receive federal student aid. Also, colleges, states, and some scholarship providers use the expected family contribution, or EFC for short. And this is determined by your FAFSA information to figure out how much financial help you need. Fourth, what else can I do to learn about financial aid opportunities? So to learn more about financial aid opportunities, attend college fairs to speak with school representatives, visit your high school career center to find information on scholarships, and explore student-friendly websites that offer college and scholarship searches. So this college fair counts as one of those suggestions. I'm glad that you guys are here and getting this information, because not everyone attends, right? Not everybody is going to get this information. So attending these on a yearly basis, or following up with your school on if they have other, career nights or college fair nights. So it's just important to be in the loop with that. So lastly, how can I discuss paying for college with my family or college support team? So begin your discussion with your parents, guardians, or college support team by explaining your interest in college and your future career goals. Ask your parents or support team to help you develop ways to start saving. So your student might find a summer job and open a savings account where they contribute little by little into their account. So I'll open it up to you all. You can type your questions in the chat box. I have my email. I'm also open to, email if you want to write that down. And if you don't want to share your question in the chat box, but other than that, thank you for listening, and thank you. Yeah.
Libya, there is one question in the chat box. It says, does the TMCC Nevada Promise Scholarship cover all 2 years?
Oh, good question. Yes, it does. It covers their associate degree, and they don't look at GPA. They don't look at high school GPA. There's no requirement for that. And so you apply to be a degree seeking student at TMCC, and if you follow those, if you follow that community service guideline, then you will get rewarded.
Can you tell something about the National Merit Scholarship?
So I would definitely, so you have to sign up for the PSAT, and you sign up through that with that through your school counselor through the school. So seeing if your student qualifies for that, I would definitely follow up with the specific counselor on how to not miss the deadline, because that's something that a lot of students miss. So yeah. And then, are middle school grades important for college applications? From the ones that I filled out personally, they just ask for a high school transcript, so they don't go back as far as middle school.
And this recording of this and all the other sessions will be on our College Awareness Week website, hopefully by next week. And also the PowerPoints that were shared and any kind of resources.